Type in Geogebra, and you will get straight to this screen. Okay, this is Geogebra. So it's you can draw graphs on it, but we're going to use it for drawing some geometry. Okay, so the first thing to look at is these little tools across the toolbar section. This arrow is the most important thing. There's lots of other tools we can play with, and we will. But after you've used every tool, go back to the arrow, and you can click and drag along and move things around, right? And you can highlight things one by one. So that's the most important thing. Always go back to this little tool here, the arrow. So first of all, we're going to use these axes, but to create the ground, the floor, and the side of a building. So we're going to go click on the line tool here. Click on line. Now click one point on the x-axis, click, and then one point anywhere else on the x-axis, click, and you've got a horizontal line. Do the same with the vertical, click, click. Now go back to the arrow tool again. There we go. And now we are going to hide all the numbers on the axes and the axes themselves. So on the right hand side, you open up the little cog wheel, and on here you've got axes, short axes. We can unclick there and then close that, kiss that goodbye. I've still got my arrow on, so click, I can move these around, okay? So this is going to act as if this is the courtyard area here. This is the side of a building, all right? So this is going to help us create a scale drawing of what we're measuring. At the moment, these A, D, B, and C, I don't really want them there, so I want to go and hide those. So again, on the toolbar, if you click on this last one with the little 4 arrows, you can see Show Hide Object and Show Hide Label. Well, I'm going to go and hide these objects. These objects are the little dots. So click Show Hide Object, then click once on each dot. Yeah, if you make a mistake, you could always just go do the undo and go back like this. So the undo and the redo, right? So that's pretty good. So it looks like they're kind of hidden. Now go back to the arrow, and you see they've gone. Again, with the arrow tool highlighted, you can click and grab and move things around. So that's pretty good. So now I'm going to create a little dot. So go find a point, and I'm going to put a point on the ground. So this is kind of where your head height is. So we're going to put a point here, and we're going to go measure out a length. Now there's a measuring tool here, and we're going to measure a distance or length. We're going to measure from where you're standing to the building, and there it is, look, 10.73. I'm going to go back to my arrow. I'm going to grab this and then move it around. Beautiful. Now, if I click once on the dot and then use my arrows on my keyboard, I can move this. Now you can see it's jumping up in 0.1s, right? I'd like to make it maybe a bit more accurate. So to do that, we go to the little cogwheel again, click. And then if you go to the algebra, you will see increment. If you change that to 0.01, okay, now close that off again. Now look at the point and move it. You're going up in 0.01. Now I'm going to presume these are meters I'm measuring. So imagine I'm standing at exactly 10 meters from the building, and I think I've got an angle of 52 degrees. So we can actually measure an angle. We can construct an angle. Go back to the measuring tool. Can you see angle with given size? Click. So now go and point to basically the base of the building with the floor. Click once. Click where the E is on my diagram where you're standing. Click. And it asks you to type in the angle. So let's say the angle you had was 52 degrees. Good. And we're measuring it anti-clockwise. Good. Okay. Now can you see it's telling us that this point F is where your line should go through. So go ahead, grab the line tool. Line. Click once where you're standing, click once where the point indicated, and that's it. You've actually drawn, again, get back to the arrow tool, you've drawn a scale drawing now. You're 10 meters away from the building. You've got an angle of 52. Your eye line goes to the top of the building, so the top of the building is here at this intersection point. All that's left to do is just measure the height of that building. So go ahead to the measuring tool, the distance, click at the intersection point. Oh, it doesn't like me to do that. So maybe I need to put a little point on where the intersection is. So go back to this point tool again, point, and then click. There we go. So that point G is representing the top of the building. And now let's go to measure. So measure distance length from this point G down to the base, click, and there you go. I've got a 12.8 meters tall building based on my eye level here. And don't forget, you'll have to maybe add on the height, because while I said this represented the ground, really the ground would be maybe 1.5 meters below me, because this would be me standing in my eyes here. Okay, so go ahead and draw a nice diagram, just like that on Geogebra, for each of your 3 experiments, and then we'll copy paste them onto your Word document. I'll be here to give you some help if you get stuck.